Shauna Griffiths. I'm the founder and CEO of SOB Impact. And today I'm with Matt Bailey, who is the founder and CEO of GameOn Entertainment Technologies, who I have known for like 7 or 8 years. Is that right?
7 or becoming up 8 years. It's crazy.
I know, it's crazy. I actually think I have the date still in my phone. Every time your thing comes up, it says the date that we first talked.
Yeah, sometimes I look back at the emails as well of like my first cold outreach trying to get a job from you back in New York.
I know, and I think back to that time we sat in that little room and you were sitting across from me. I don't think I ever told you this, but when you said to me, you looked at me and you were like, "But I want to work for you." And I was like, "Oh, he's got me. I got it." So that was like, but since then you really have become like one of my closest friends, my absolute ally along. And, I think we've both definitely evolved since our time working together at that agency. Right? So you came from an athlete background. I remember when we met and you were talked about that you had started a rugby league and you had sponsors for it and all this stuff. And I was like, who is this guy? And then, so you were selling also at that time, but not sponsorships per se, but then you were selling sponsorship. And then you've been on this incredible journey of entrepreneurship. And so, I think I'd just love to tell us about it. Tell us about what you're doing now and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy, bunch of years in America. That was really the start of my journey. I was just out of college or university back home, and I've always kind of, the stage I'm at is biting off a little bit more than I can chew. Even now, awesome. and I'm just now I think I'm starting to kind of catch up. But yeah, I mean, I moved from Australia, one-way ticket, nothing set up, just wanted a dream of working in the major leagues. Got here and had a year to kind of find a role that was related to my studies, and you were the one that ended up giving me that role. But from there, when the dream was kind of, I had this major league itch that I wanted to scratch, and went and worked for the Nets for a little bit and Barclays Center, and then the itch became a startup itch, and started working on GameOn a couple of years ago. That has kind of evolved from just being a free-to-play, consumer-focused prediction game experience to now still being that, but also empowering other content owners, being a white label solution for partners in TV, broadcast, sports books, teams and leagues, where we build their prediction games. So that's kind of the journey in short, but we can dive deeper in one or the other.
Your years as an athlete, do you think some of that comes from that drive? I'm curious, like, what drives you? Where do you think it comes from?
Yeah, I think it might indirectly come from playing sports over the years, and now that I think about it, probably does. But I think people get distracted by, in the startup world especially, and they obsess over the one path that they think there is to win. Yeah. When in reality, there's hundreds of paths to win. Yeah. It's your job as a founder or as an entrepreneur to find one of the paths. Right. And if you obsess over there being one path, then it gets very hard to find any of the paths to win, because you just obsess and you get off track. And now that you mention it, it's the same in any sport or game that you're playing. Like, there may be many paths to win, and I play team sports. It's up to the team to find one of the paths to win. So I think that relates to the startup world as well.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It was funny because yesterday somebody said that I was referred to as competitive. And when they said it, I was like, okay, but I'm actually finding myself to be more competitive with myself than I am with others. And so I'm curious, like, what's your thought about that? Do you think that you're like, what drives you, is that about like you? And I think I know the answer to this, but is it you trying to be the best version of yourself? Or do you think that it's more like being competitive with others?
I don't think being competitive with others definitely doesn't drive me. Maybe it did to an extent down years ago. Right. But now it's like we're running our own race. I'm running my own personal race. GameOn is running our own startup race. When we see our competitors doing well, we know them, we're friendly with them, and it's actually great for our industry when someone raises money at a certain valuation or someone gets acquired at a certain valuation. That's great for us.
Yeah.
So I definitely, I definitely just see ourselves as competing against ourselves only.
Yeah,
And what really impacts or gets me excited or drives me is people. So the opportunity to impact new employees' lives or enable them to move countries or move cities or realize a dream and do great things together is what really drives me, is people.
That's amazing. It's amazing. I was going to say, I love the way you talk about, you just really authentically talk about, you use we, and as long as I've known you, it wasn't the, well, I'm doing this, and so I'm just curious, when you started, I remember you were like, Shauna, is this a crazy idea? And I was so excited and, that you came to me with it and stuff, but you've clearly had an incredible group of people around you. So, are there some people who really have, you talk about impacting other people, but I think I met Jay Moses and stuff, and are there key people, who have impacted you? And what do you think are some of the things that philosophies or the way that they've done that's made such a difference?
Yeah. I mean, people are everything. That people are what drive this business and drive our startup. Like what I often say to people that it's so important, or I think it's so important for me to know what I don't know and bring people in that complement me and enable the business to do things that I'm not able to do. Like I've been on calls with, for example, you and Jay Moses last week, and then I was on another one with Jay Moses and Jay is our chairman, by the way. He's a director at Take-Two Interactive. He was the original Grand Theft Auto guy, so he's kind of a legend in gaming and sports. Yeah. But then I was on another call with him and our VP of product, Santi, who built FIFA for 10 years, built NBA Top Shot at Dapper Labs, which is kind of in the news right now. But I'm on those calls with you, Santi and Jay, and I literally halfway through the call, I'm just thinking to myself, like, holy shit, like these people are so smart, and I'm so lucky to have these people around me. And I literally think when I'm on those calls, like, we can't lose, like we're going to find a way to win with these people. But back to your question, some philosophies that I've taken from people, I'll use one that's like I'm working on right now. I'm working on improving on right now, and it's come through working with Jay closely. Literally every day we're on calls, or he's calling me, or we're chatting about different things, and he's really pushing me to not jump to solutions immediately. And that is something that I'm impatient, and patience is a hard thing for me, which is a good and bad thing. But Jay really is pushing me to look at the current reality first. Where are we? What's the current reality? Then go into discovery, then go to solution. Because if the solution isn't driven by the first two, then it's off. It might work, but it might not. So he's really pushing me to have a bit more of a strategy and an order approach to things like new products we might come out with, to companies we might look at acquiring, to people we might hire and bring on board. They're all solutions that need to be driven by the current reality and the discovery. Yeah.
I think that's so critical, especially in all that we're facing, right? Because when you have so much challenge and chaos, a lot of times, if you're people like us who are solutions oriented, you want to get to that solution as quickly as you can. But I love the fact that it's like starting a new journey, evolution. I think sometimes people they have one perception of it because they see the outcomes or they see wins and things like that. But all that you're doggy paddling and like the struggles and everything, I think that is a bit of building pain tolerance, but there's a huge mental health component to it. And again, we've been really forthcoming with each other about that. And so, I'd love to hear your thoughts about your experience and the mental health aspect and your journey, in that area with respect to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur until I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
Like when I graduated university, I didn't even know what a startup was. Then I just went out, like I wanted to work in sports. That was the thing. And then I don't know, it just kind of evolved into wanting to do it. But yeah, I mean, there's so many mental health aspects about entrepreneurship and pain tolerance and you know, all we usually see is the overnight success.
Yeah.
So you read about, you know, the Amazons and the $1 billion unicorns that exit for crazy valuations, but you don't see the work that goes into it.
Yeah.
So as a founder, it's often when you hit that first hurdle or you have going through a tough period, you think it's done. Like you think that you can't achieve it, or it's not right for you, or you know, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. So I think that's the key issue, and that's where most founders or entrepreneurs, you know, stop and go and do something else. So I think that's the biggest light that needs to be shined, is that it takes a long time. It's hard. It's a grind. There are ups, there are downs, there are a lot of no's, and if you know that, then it's going to be easier when you get there. So I think more founders should share those kind of tough times. And I know founders, I think, are starting to do that more these days, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, on the mental health side, I think it's just super important to look after yourself, and there are several ways you can do that. No one way is right for others, but I kind of know what's right for me now. Mm-hmm. And there are different things that I do to make sure that my mental health is in the right place, and I'm optimized and working as efficiently as possible. And I just know those things are right for me, and we can dive into what they are. But the first thing I would say is that what I do, or what you read about, you know, Jeff Bezos does or Mark Cuban does, like that doesn't mean it's right for you. Yeah. I just know what's right for me, and I think every founder should try and work out or find and establish what's right for them and their body.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we were talking about it recently, and you were like, you know, it really stood out to me when you said the things that allow me to operate at my optimum, you know, and I think that's the part, like sometimes we can almost get caught up in the work, in the stress of it and all of that, and you can kind of put that up to the side, and it's like you start to sacrifice that. But if you really want to be best for your people, for your company, for, you know, for your partners, whatever that is, you really do have to find those things that can protect yourself and really nurture yourself. Something that might sound cheesy, but I often talk about is like, you know, you can't drink from an empty cup. And so, you know, you can't be present for other people if you're absolutely knackered, you know? So I think those are just, so I think you've got a great point, and you're right. It's not a one solution fits all, you know? Yeah. I used to be at the you know, crack of dawn emailing you at 5 a.m. and you were like, I'm not a morning person. You know, so even if it's like your time of day, you know, and I think like, I know that, you know, as an athlete and stuff, that's been an important part. I think I remember you.
Yeah. And an example of where I didn't find my balance, or I didn't understand or have the perspective I have now, was when we went through Techstars, which was a great program. Like, it was a really good time. But after it finishes, there's a bit of well, first of all, for 12 weeks, you're just full speed, like crazy hours, surrounded by other people who are also doing that. So it's like you get into this habit of just working, no exercise, eating badly, and then it ends. So there's a bit of a Techstars hangover, they call it. And then
COVID hangover is what I call it.
And then at the same time, where we were trying to raise money at a time where we probably weren't ready to do so. Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of that the next following 6 months were kind of a tough time for me, where I was trying to still live that Techstars life, work these crazy hours. You know, we'd just seen all these crazy success stories and profiles that you're trying to match up to or borrow from, or, you know, you'll learn about someone who is so successful, and then, you know, they get up at 6 a.m. and they work until a crazy time, and they don't have a social life. So you think that's the measure of success. Mm-hmm. And that was a really tough 6-month period, where I wouldn't say I was, it wasn't a depression thing, but it was a stress thing for me.
Yeah.
It was like a overworked, tired, energy levels, super stressed, anxiety. Those are the types of things that I experienced. Then COVID happened, and in particular, it was no sports happened for our business, which funnily enough, or like strangely, when I think back at it, kind of was an equalizer in the startup world, or in the sports startup world, because suddenly you weren't being judged on your metrics and your numbers and your engagement. You were being judged on your ability to survive. So it was out of nowhere. It was just a new environment. It was like which kind of played to our advantage, because we didn't have a big team that we're spending a lot of money on. We were small, we were nimble, we were flexible, and we were able to do some deals that others weren't able to, which changed the business totally. I kind of went from one topic to another there.
Because
that's what I was thinking.
Actually, but I think it's all about, some of the things you're talking about is about resilience. And I think, thank you so much for being here. And where should people look for you and GameOn? And so how can people get more involved in your world?
Yeah, and just one more thing on the survival mode. That goes back to what I said earlier, or my thought earlier, about there's more than one way to win. And it's just about surviving and finding that way to win. It'll come one way or another if you just keep going, and if you back yourself to keep going.
There you go.
Yeah. But anyway, you can find GameOn at gameon.app. You can email me at matt@gameon.app. We have a bunch of stuff happening on the business side as we go public as a Canadian company in the next few weeks. So keep an eye out for us, and reach out if you have any questions.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Matt. Talk to you soon.
No worries. Thank you.
Bye.